Hello everyone, it's Darkseeker here again. Welcome back for another video. Now, I'd like to say a massive thank you to everyone that's been supporting my channel. We've just hit over 800 subscribers. We are well on our way to 1,000. So I'd appreciate your continued support. Keep on subscribing. Let's hit that target of 1,000. Now in today's video, we're playing a very interesting deck. A couple of weeks ago I played Control Warrior on my channel, and it was a deck with just a car, and it had Iron Juggernaut, and I think people really enjoyed watching that video. Some really cool feedback, and so we're going to continue in the same kind of style with Control Warrior, but we're going to play C'Thun in this deck. My favourite old god, C'Thun. You don't see him played very much anymore. In fact, he hardly appears on the ladder at all. Maybe at rank 18, rank 17, but beyond that, no one plays him in tier 1 or even tier 2 decks. But we're going to give him a go in this deck because he's such a cool card, is C'Thun. I mean, if you get him up high enough, the burst damage from C'Thun can be pretty significant, particularly if you have a Brann Bronzebeard on board. Of course, it's near impossible to pull off that combo, but hey, sometimes it's possible. But let's jump down to reality for a second. Yeah, Brann C'Thun combo. Very unlikely. But there are some other interesting cards and combos in this deck. Brann, Twin Emperor Veclaw. Awesome against aggro decks, also very good against Priest because the Twin Emperors have 4 attack out of range of Shadowed Pain and Death. Justicar Trueheart in this deck for tanking up. Brann Ancient Shieldbearer really messes with aggro decks when you pull off that combo. And of course, Dead Man's Hand. Yes, shuffling cards back into your deck, going into fatigue and outlasting your opponent. So, let's have a look at some highlights. Going up against a Priest, and yes, Priest is everywhere now on the ladder. But when you can mill a Priest, and they lose Reno Jackson, well, you feel pretty good about yourself. And you start to get a bit more confidence when you see their Kazakus get milled too. And the Priest thinks he's clever, clearing the board. Yes, Potion of Madness, doing Priest things. But when you can outvalue your opponent with something like Dead Man's Hand, and we're going to fatigue, or they're going to fatigue, and you're not, feels pretty good. So in response, they play Shadow Reaper Anduin, and they start their chain of hero powers. Well, the thing is, you've got all this armour, and you can tank up for 4 every single turn. That kind of negates their hero power massively. To the point where they think, there's no point carrying on with this game. And that's a good feeling. When they concede like that. Now, my opponent really wasn't happy. He sent me a friend request and then said just one thing. He said, what a boring net deck to climb from rank 9. Well, first of all, he's calling my deck a net deck. I had to search really hard to find this deck. No one plays C'Thun anymore, right? So these decks don't exist, so it's not a net deck. And then he's saying a boring deck? Hang on. He's playing Priest, of all things, with Raza and Anduin, and he's calling my deck boring. Yeah, just bad loser. This game against a Hunter was pretty cool, because I played Dead Man's Hand, got 2 copies of C'Thun, played the first copy, he'd played his trap, and you can telegraph it. It's freezing trap, of course it is. And the Hunter's thinking, yay, I win the game. C'Thun's gone back to hand. Well, we just play another one. Do you know what's crazy about this second C'Thun? He didn't kill the Sea Giant. I mean, that's just terrible RNG. But in the end, what really won the game for me was tank up. Getting the extra armour help me survive and win this game. He managed to get me down to 3. So yeah, if it wasn't for Tankard, despite the double C'Thun, I'd have lost the game. Okay, let's have a look at one full game here against a priest. Now, I'm keeping Justicar because the tank up's so important against the hero power, and I'm actually keeping Ravaging Ghoul. Why would I keep Ravaging Ghoul? Well, it's an execute activator, firstly, which can be pretty important if he's playing big minions. We don't know what kind of a priest this is. Also, my deck can be quite heavy. There are a lot of expensive cards in my deck. Ravaging Ghoul is a 3-drop that can be played if necessary, if there's nothing else to do. So because I run so many more expensive cards, I feel more happy and more confident keeping an early 3-drop that can just be played. I hope that made sense. Anyway, card draw from the Acolyte is pretty good for us here. He'd need Shadow Word Pain just to get a clean kill and not give many cards. I find it surprising he trades there. That's interesting. Obviously, he wants card draw himself, and as Priest, we're running Razar and the Death Knight. Yeah, card draw is essential. And you can see it here. He's giving me cards, but he's also giving himself cards too. And he doesn't care, seemingly, about giving me cards. He just wants to draw his cards, hurry up, find Razar, find Anduin, and then try and burst me down. So, if he's searching for cards and throwing away Thalnos, well, I'll search for cards too, and I play Shield Block. Some would argue that I shouldn't have played Shield Block in that situation. But I'm hunting for cards too. Now, do you guys know what cards I'm hunting for specifically? And I'm hunting for them urgently. I'm hunting for Disciple of C'Thun and C'Thun's Chosen. Those are my C'Thun card activators. They activate the Ancient Shieldbearers. They activate the Twin Emperor Vectors. And strangely, I've not found any C'Thun's Chosens or any Disciples of C'Thun. That is the one drawback of this deck. You're running 4 early game activators, and sometimes they just don't arrive at all. Now, I do have Doomcaller in my hand, so on turn 8, if I'm desperate, I can play Doomcaller, which gives my C'Thun +2 attack, which puts it at 8 attack, which is 2 off of the 10 that's required to activate Shieldbearer and Vector. Okay, just playing my Ravaging Ghoul. See, I'm happy I kept it. It did nothing there, but it's a body on the board that he's got to deal with.
Is someone injured?
Oh, he's going to trade. See, well, that's 5 damage not going to my face. Lets me build up my armour a little bit more. Building up the armour is how we win this game. Yeah, so playing the 3-cost Ravaging Ghoul there. Pretty good, considering that we can't play any of the other minions in our hand. Gave us something to do. So the priest is building up a bit of board presence here, and I think his hopes are that he'll be able to shred my armour. But we've got 2 Bloodrazors available. And over 2 turns, this should allow us to clear the board. So we have the 2 attack from this weapon, plus the 1 damage AoE, and then we can equip the next Bloodrazor for more AoE.
You like my invention?
Yeah, it's making it pretty easy for me to clear board. Of course, he doesn't know that I've got the second Bloodrazor. I even have Revenge for more AoE if I need it. But I don't think I will need it. He's really thinking hard here. What's he thinking about? you just want stuff on the board. Okay. That's kind of dangerous, committing so much to the board. Knowing that I've got this 2 attack from the weapon plus the 1 damage AoE, I mean, maybe you'd want to wait until I've used up the last charge on that weapon before you commit so much. So we can have a full board clear here. We've just got to choose our attack, our target very carefully here. So we attack the Drake, equip the second Blood Razor, and once again tank up. Right, so clearing the board there, pretty important. Not taking damage from minions means that we just keep tanking up. And once again, no Disciple of C'Thun, no C'Thun's Chosen. This is quite awkward. Our C'Thun sitting there at 6 attack. Are we going to be forced to play Doomcaller? I don't want to play Doomcaller because I want to get the value from it once my C'Thun dies. I don't want to play it before C'Thun. Yeah, it buffs C'Thun by 2, but we just don't get any further value from it. So he just threw away Excavated Evil. Interesting. Did he need to do that? So he played 2 cards. I don't understand why he did that. Maybe he just wants to give me Excavated Evil, because he knows I'm hunting for something. He's seen me not play many cards or many minions. So maybe he knows I'm hunting for something specific. Maybe he gave me Excavated Evil to reduce the chances of me drawing into whatever it is I'm looking for. The priest is continuing to think very hard here. I think he's looking at my armour, he's looking at tank up, and he's thinking, oh god, how am I going to win this game? How am I going to burst through all of that armour? I mean, it's only 8 armour now, but once I get my my ancient Shieldbearers going, and give me a few more turns to tank up, it's going to be hard for him to make a breakthrough. Now, Kazakus is interesting. Because what cost potion will he go for? That's the first question. The second question is what kind of effects will he prioritise on? Now usually playing the Death Knight Priest, you want to focus on drawing cards. Because you want to draw into your Razas and your Anduins. Your 2 key cards there. He's already played Raza, he's just looking for Anduin now. And direct damage is usually a pretty good one to choose from Kazakus too, because you can throw the damage face, shredding armour. So that's pretty important. But I'm just going to keep tanking up every turn. I'm not afraid of a Kazakus potion. Dead Man's Hand is available, and it's something that I probably want to avoid playing until I get my Disciple of C'Thun, which will bring my C'Thun up to 10 attack. If I play Dead Man's Hand before I get my next C'Thun activator, I shuffle all of these cards back into my deck, and I make it harder to draw into Disciple of C'Thun or C'Thun's Chosen. Which I need to get my C'Thun up to 10 attack. I hope the logic behind that makes sense to everyone. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well. Interesting. Draw 2 cards. Okay, so he picked the Kazakus card effects. He picked the effects that I thought he'd pick, dealing damage plus the card draw. But I think it's too late for him because we're just tanking up, and we're going to put ourselves out of range. There's the Excavated Evil. Still haven't found a second Disciple of C'Thun or C'Thun's Chosen. So look, our C'Thun is still at 8 attack. This is not good enough. So we'll play the Excavated Evil there, just to stop us milling ourselves. As we continue to tank up here, we put ourselves out of range. It's a bit like going up against Freeze Mage. Yeah, he concedes. Freeze Mage can only do so much damage with the spells they have. If you can tank up out of range, it's an auto win usually. It's the same kind of with Priest. You know, they can only play so many cards each turn with a 0 cost 2 damage hero power. If you can just tank up out of range, eventually they run out of cards and, well, there's only so much hero powering they can do. So the aim with this deck against Priest is to tank up out of range, armor up out of range, and you've seen 2 examples in this video where I've managed to do that successfully. And given how popular Priest is on the ladder, this deck can, I use the word can, be a good counter. It's not always a great counter, but it can be a good counter. You saw in the earlier game, I only drew into 1 C'Thun's Chosen, didn't draw the second, and Disciples of C'Thun were hidden in my deck, couldn't draw into them. And so Ancient Shieldbearers, Twin Emperor Vetclaw, and other cards were just stuck, sitting in my hand. What won us that game was Justicard's tank up effect. He saw the armour and thought, nope, can't deal with it. That won us the game, which in itself is pretty amazing. So what do I think of the deck overall? It's not tier 1, it's probably not tier 2, but it's a solid tier 3 deck. The loss of Fiery War Axe is felt. It particularly against aggro, you do struggle sometimes in the early game, and instead of using Fiery War Axe over 2 turns to clear early things they play, you have to wait for brawls, you have to wait for revenge value. Sometimes by then it can be too late, but if you get Ancient Shieldbearer in play for the huge armor gain, if you get the likes of Bloodraiser down, benefiting from the AoE effects, if you draw into timely brawls, then you're okay against aggro. So overall, yes, you can wreck aggro. With Dead Man's Hand, you can outvalue control, but you do need a bit of luck in order to make it happen. Regardless, I still find C'Thun a really fun card to play, and I find the C'Thun cards really cool too. You know, Brann, Bronzebeard, Ancient Shieldbearer. If you ever pull that combo off against aggro, it is game over. And I've had a couple of games where Brann's on board and they ignore Brann and they just go face because that's all they know how to do. And then the next turn you play Ancient Shieldbearer and you get 20 armor and it is game over. Those are my favourite moments. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe. I would be very grateful. We are gunning for 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you all again very soon for more wild mode fun.